Hi everyone, welcome to this video. Let me begin with a question. Imagine your child is 18 years old and comes to you one day and says, I got into a university abroad, or I want to take a gap year and build something of my own, or perhaps I don't want an education loan hanging over my head. Would money become a constraint? Most parents immediately say, I hope not. But hope is not a financial plan. If I ask you how much you've invested for your child, many of you can answer immediately. But if I ask you how much your child's future is likely to cost, not just college, but schooling, activities, higher studies, experiences, maybe marriage, maybe a business, most parents cannot answer. And that's the gap this video is about. Saving for your child and planning for your child are not the same thing. The day your child was born, what happened? Cash, gifts, gold, small savings, blessings. Maybe an account was opened. Maybe a policy was bought. But very few parents sit down and ask, what journey am I actually funding? The financial journey of a child doesn't begin at college. It begins much earlier. School admissions, activities, sports, technology, coaching, undergraduate studies, postgraduate, maybe overseas education, maybe helping them become financially independent. The problem is that we think of these events separately. Life does not. It is one continuous financial journey. Let's break down the myths around the same. Myth 1: I'll deal with expenses when they arrive. Most parents start worrying about school fees when school starts, college when class 10 arrives, marriage when the child is in their 20s. But compounding only rewards people who start before the expense appears. Let's talk reality. In cities like Bangalore and Chennai, annual fees in good CBSE and ICSE schools often range from 1.5 to 3 lakhs. Premium schools can cost 3 to 6 lakhs. IB schools can cost 8 to 15 lakhs per year or more. Add transport, activities, sports, exchange programs, and technology. Before college even begins, many families can easily spend 25 to 50 lakh on schooling alone. The danger isn't today's fee, it's tomorrow's inflation. Education inflation often outpaces general inflation. Your child will live in tomorrow's cost structure, not today's. This is where I thought's philosophy differs. We don't look at school, college, and marriage as separate goals. We see them as one integrated journey because money is fungible and aspirations evolve. Let me illustrate. Suppose a family invests 1 lakh per month from birth. At 12% CAGR assumption over 18 years, they invest about 1.2 crores, but the corpus could potentially grow to around 2.5 crores. The parent contributed 1.2 crores. Time created another 1.3 crores. Income pays expenses. Compounding pays for the future. Now, let's go one step further. Suppose the family starts with 1 lakh per month and increases the SIP by 10% every year because income, goals, and aspirations all rise. Over 18 years, total contributions may be around 5.5 crores, and the potential corpus can exceed 13 crores under reasonable long term assumptions. Suddenly, the conversation changes. You're not merely funding school and college, you're funding options: domestic education, global education, MBA, entrepreneurship, marriage, financial flexibility. Now, consider another parent who waits until the child turns 8 and then starts the same 1 lakh SIP. At age 18, the corpus may only be around 3.2 crores. The delay didn't cost 8 years. It cost you nearly 10 crores of compounding. Myth 2. I have products, therefore I have a plan. Let me ask, do you have LIC, PPF, SSY, gold, mutual funds? Wonderful. But do these collectively fund the future you want for your child? Products are mere ingredients. Planning is the recipe. Many families have excellent products and still have no idea whether the outcomes are adequately funded. This is where advice adds value. Not by choosing one product over another, but by integrating products into a coherent roadmap. Myth 3. The most expensive education is automatically the best education. Parents today are extremely aspirational. Sometimes we assume spending more automatically means providing more. But the objective isn't to buy the most expensive education. The objective is to create the most opportunities for your child. Some children may thrive in premium international schools. Others may benefit more from strong academics combined with travel, sports, exposure, and life experiences. The question isn't what's the most expensive option. The question is what aligns with my child's aspirations and my family's priorities. Planning is not about maximizing spending, it is about maximizing optionality. Myth 4. I've planned for education, so I'm done. Let me ask you something. What happens after college? Higher studies, international opportunities, a business, taking time to discover what they want to do. The future rarely unfolds exactly as planned. At iThought, we think about a child's journey in layers. Layer 1, education corpus. Layer 2, higher education corpus. Layer 3, marriage corpus. Layer 4, your retirement protection corpus. Layer 5, legacy corpus. Because the child's future should not come at the cost of your retirement. Myth 5. I'll somehow manage retirement later. Studies repeatedly show that Indian parents prioritize children's goals over their own retirement, and many still expect support from children in old age. But the world is changing. Children study elsewhere, work elsewhere, live globally. Your child does not need financially exhausted parents. Your child needs financially independent parents. One of the biggest gifts you can give your child is ensuring they never have to choose between their dreams and your retirement. Myth 6. Buying gold and property means I've planned for my child. Here's something everyone needs to unlearn. The objective is not gold. The objective is future purchasing power. Jewelry carries making charges, wastage, and repeated redesign costs. A 10 lakh leakage over time due to making charges compounded over 2 decades can potentially become close to 1 crore. Similarly, many parents buy property saying, this flat is for my child's education or marriage. But goals require liquidity. Assets require time to grow. What if property markets are weak when your child needs the money? Is it possible to sell half an apartment? The purpose of a goal corpus isn't maximum return. It is certainty when the child needs the money. Myth 7. Ownership doesn't matter. Should investments be in the child's name or parents' name? There's no universal answer to this. Minor investments have operational and taxation considerations. Income of minors is generally clubbed with the higher earning parent until adulthood. After majority, taxation dynamics change. But there is also a behavioral advantage. Money earmarked in the child's name often remains purpose driven and untouched. Investing for a child is not just wealth creation, it is behavior creation. Let me leave you with one final thought. Years from now, your child may never know which fund you selected or which product you bought, but they will live with the outcomes of the decisions you make today. The freedom to study where they want, the ability to say yes to opportunities, the absence of unnecessary loans, the confidence of having financially independent parents. The question is not whether you are investing for your child. The question is whether your child's future is being left on an autopilot. Tonight, ask yourself four questions. What future do I imagine for my child? How much might it realistically cost? Is my current savings sufficient? Am I balancing my child's future and my retirement? If you cannot answer these questions confidently, perhaps the need is not another product. Perhaps the need is a plan. Because income pays for today, compounding pays for tomorrow. Planning preserves optionality, and financially independent parents are one of the greatest gifts a child can receive. Check out the description to know more. Connect with us to start a conversation today.